You are watching On Demand. Please do not try to vote or enter any competition or other interactivity in this programme, as it may not count and you may still be charged.
Today on your Loose Women Live, it's Kay Adams, Nadia Sawalha, Brenda Edwards, and Carol McGiffin.
Carol had to be persuaded there. Yeah, welcome to Thursday Loose Women Live. Coming up, what makes a true friendship and when does an acquaintance become a friend? We will be sharing the secret friendship formula and whether it can actually work in real life. Plus, it's a dilemma that's dividing the panel, a controversial advert for a dating site that has now been banned because it promotes negative gender stereotypes. Carol thinks it's just a joke, but Nadia says it is dangerous. So who will you side with?
Oh, God.
It's
going to kick off, isn't it?
It's going to kick off, isn't it? Yeah. And in a special show for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're joined by Elizabeth Hurley, who will be sharing a very personal story. Now, it's been reported today that 1/5 of adults between the age of 18 and 34 are planning to move out of their homes and back in with their parents to cope with the cost of living crisis. While some parents are embracing the prospect of a full nest, others are making their houses a little hostile. Freezing temperatures, no food in the fridge, dog hairs on the bed, to try and stop their adult kids moving back in. So would you turn your kids away? I mean, Nadia, I think your kids are going to have a hard job getting out, far less getting back in.
She's going to lock the door.
Oh, she is.
I make sure I make lots of lovely food to keep them. Well, just culturally, it's very different for me. I mean, my dad's Arabic, my mum's English, and I remember my dad's sister just coming and moving in next door. It's the way we do things. You keep the family close by. We all lived next door to each other, and as soon as my dad saw us growing too big, he converted the garage into 2 bed sits for me and my sister because he didn't want it to go. So it's very much how I've grown up. I would live on a commune. I love living with lots of people. I have never, ever lived on my own and I have no desire to. But if my children want to fly, then absolutely. I think what they'll do is come and go.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
But you'd be happy for them to come back?
Oh, God, yeah. Love it.
You'll be on your own, though, because you've got Mark.
No, I know, but if something happened to Mark, God forbid, I would move into a commune. I wouldn't live on my own.
I can see you in a commune.
I'd be really good. I'd make big, huge
You'd be
salads.
brilliant in one.
When one person gets fed up of me talking too much, I'll move on to someone else.
Carol, would you like to live in a commune with Nadia?
No, I really genuinely can't think of anything worse. I'm not a commune person.
Would your mum have welcomed you back?
Well, no, frankly. No. And the reason... Well, I never left home, actually. My mum left home.
Right.
She moved out.
She moved out, yeah.
Wait, what age were you?
I don't know, 16, 17, maybe. No, seriously, this is serious.
Was it that incident in the graveyard?
Don't bring that up.
No, because my mum was on her own for a long time, and then she met this guy, and she always wanted to run a pub. And then she met this guy, and they got married, and they got a pub. And we were still quite young, and so she moved out into the pub and left us in the house. And then my sister moved out, and then we were just left in the council house. But it was fine, you know, and we were grown up enough to do it. But in that respect, nobody minded. Everybody sort of wanted her to have a nice life, you know, go and do what you always wanted to do. So we were happy with that. But later on in life, we moved from the house because it was too big into a flat. She moved back into the flat when she lost the pub, and she was offered a bungalow on a retirement estate, and she was offered a 2-bed bungalow. And she turned it down. She said, "No, I want a 1-bed because I don't want my kids coming back home." No, she genuinely did.
Oh, my God.
But I don't blame her for that. She said, "I've done my bit.
Yeah.
You go and look after yourselves." And she was right about that.
And the thing is, when we're talking about the current situation, I feel really sorry for young people who have to move back in with their parents, because that is really what we're talking about. Because young people don't want to be living with their parents. I mean, I had a great relationship with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go and be independent. independent. I moved out when I was 17 because that's what I wanted to do. So, I mean, this is a situation that they don't really want, but they're having to do it. But Nadia was saying culturally, it's all about the whole family staying together. You're kind of the same, aren't you?
I am the same. It's when my parents died, both my brother and I went to live with my mother's extended family, and there were 7 of us living in a 3-bed. So I slept in bed in the same room, in the bed with my auntie Betty, until I was aged 18 when I left home.
In the same bed?
Yeah, in the same bed, in the same room. And then I left home when I was 18 and went to live with my brother. So, like Nadia, I haven't lived on my own, apart from when I'm touring. But with the kids, you know, when I got breast cancer, Jamal moved out when he was 21. But then when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, he wanted to move back in to support and protect Mummy. So he moved back in. And Tanisha, I just don't want her to go. But both of them have said, we'll move out, but there's a house next door.
Yeah.
So, you know, my aunt would live there, my other aunt there, my uncle there, my other uncle there, and we all just live really tight, but we gravitate to the one
my
house.
family, we all live next
it's
door
really
to each
lovely.
other.
I like that.
Why don't you just buy the street?
I know, I mean,
It's nice, though, actually. I kind of envy that in a way, because I lived
do.
on my own for years. I loved it, but it's nice to just be around people, isn't it?
Yeah.
My kids loved
absolutely.
it because they were growing
Not in the
up
same
and,
house,
and they
but-
would run in and out of the different gardens, see who was cooking the best
Yeah.
dinner and run back. So it was that community. It was lovely.
I think we'll get Carol into that commune with you, Nadia.
Come on, you and me, mung beans and wine. How about it?
I'm washing my hands.
well, on a similar theme, a friendship formula has been revealed today, which reveals exactly how long it takes to turn an acquaintance into a proper friend. Apparently, this is what it takes, 11 interactions, each lasting on average 3 hours and 4 minutes. This is very precise stuff. Over 5.5 months. I know, are you writing that down, Brenda? It's 34 hours, or, of course, how many minutes, Carol? Quick.
I don't know.
2040.
They're just overthinking it a bit.
You know what?
Teeny bit.
I'm just thinking, and my heart is warming at the thought that makes us the very best of friends, Carol. Doesn't it?
Yes. I do think there's a fine line between friends and acquaintances.
And are you going to tell me I'm on the other side of it?
Well, no, I'm not. But you know, it is kind of just semantics in a way, isn't it? It doesn't really
So
matter.
we're your
what...
friends, Carol?
Well, I wouldn't class you as actual. What? Well, no.
Don't worry about that. I don't class Carol as my friend either, so it's all right.
God, it's all kicking off. Kate, are you my friend? You two are great. You're best friends. You are. And I don't spend as much time with you. I spend more time with you lot than I do with some of my greatest
Well, your
friends.
real friends.
And some of my friends I've known for 35, 40 years, and we stay in touch and we meet up and
We've
things
known each
like
other
that.
for 20 years.
I know, but I don't call you every day or... OK, you're a friend. So I can make you happy.
But when years ago when we were all loose women together.
Look at that. Tell me we're not friends.
God, that's from...
that really makes me.
Well, oh, God, that really
Carol,
is old.
in those days,
All right,
our lives were much more entwined, weren't they? We didn't have kids.
Yeah.
We used to go on holiday together.
Exactly.
We'd get rats.
As soon as you have
together.
kids, you're off the friends list.
Rats twinkled together. but you know, then there was a long gap, and I get what I would. If somebody asked me if I knew, I'd say, oh yes, she's a really good friend. But I know what you mean. We don't see each other in that way. We're not always
What
standing.
distinction
And I love you all, but
For me,
you know...
I think, you know, there are different layers of friendship. And so you have that friend that you will call on a daily basis, sometimes 2-3 times in a day. That's like a friend. That's a brethren. That's like your ride or die, your soulmate, and then you've got that friend, like, you know, that you probably speak to twice a week. That's still not you guys yet. But you know what? I will personally say I love our Loose Women group because it's really nice when you put things in there and I find myself chuckling. I don't always respond because I'm not really one for that. I like to have an actual phone call with somebody, and that's what I class as a real... You're phoning them up and you're da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But it's also nice when you meet that friend, you don't have to say anything, you just know. And, you know, there's a different layer. But I see, you know, I made the mistake of saying, you guys are my acquaintance and on this panel once, and I didn't mean it in that way, but you're my work acquaintances, and I acquaint
Sing it
myself
again,
with
Brenda.
well, but I love you all.
Yeah, you can be I'm very fond of all the loose women.
I know,
and
but
I
I
don't dislike
The thing is,
anybody.
it doesn't have to be a competition,
But
does
it doesn't.
But on that thing of like how to turn an acquaintance from a friend, like you said, I think it went a bit technical. But I think basically to make a friend, and I think, like I've got my friends here that are new friends, but it's so intense, our friendship. And that, I think the way to move from acquaintance to friend is just to be really interested in somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, all of those numbers and everything. Don't worry, just really want to know about somebody. And then you work out whether you've got a connection. We hear about connection and not Love Island.
Yeah.
But you have to have something that just connects you. And that's why if we didn't see, I would always have that connection with you.
I don't
always
know.
be a friend.
I think that the bottom line is if you'd stop working together, would you stay friends? And the answer is probably no. I mean, if we're all honest... Well, I tell you what, if we're all honest, we probably wouldn't stay in touch,
We would.
I
We
don't
would.
agree.
But I tell you what, can I just say something?
I'll get then, shall I?
The other night on Strictly, I was so annoyed with...
So was I.
With them, because there I was, there's Lee, our lovely warm-up guy. I was screaming, I travelled for miles across the train strikes and everything, and then Claudia called me a colleague.
Oh, and...
Well, you're that as well as a friend, but...
Yeah.
No, but it's so weird to be
Well,
called a colleague when you're a
Craig
friend.
called me a clodhopper, so you just have luck. Still to come, we will be making friends, hopefully, with Elizabeth Hurley when she joins us. She might run for the hills when she joins us for a very special reason, and it is our big debate, as if we haven't had one already. The dating site advert that's been banned for being sexist. Was it the right decision, or were they just having a bit of fun? You decide next, after I've given Carol a slap. Good to see you again. Now, 8 in 10 women are not checking their breast regularly for cancer, with many unsure how to actually do it. We're going to change that, we hope. We're going to show you how it's done and how easy it is live a little bit later. Plus, Elizabeth Hurley will be sharing a touching story about her grandmother that means she never misses a mammogram. Before that, it's competition time and your chance to win £75,000 in tax-free cash. Here's Josie with the details.
Hello there, it is National Space Week and I could literally be at NASA in my outfit, but I'm not. I'm at iFly in Basingstoke. We're better placed to tell you about our brand new competition, which could see you £75,000 richer. Just imagine what £75,000 could do for you right now. You could pay off some of your house, buy a new car, have loads and loads of holidays. Just think of all the freedom that £75,000 could give you. And remember, with all of our competitions, there is always a guaranteed winner, and that guaranteed winner really could be you. I mean, £75,000 really could take you to new heights. Now, if you want to be in with a chance to win our incredible competition, which only launched this week, so get your entry in quick, here are all the details you need to know. Good luck. For a chance to win, text cash to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY40 PO Box 7558 Derby DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over, and lines close on Friday the 28th of October at 3 p.m. Good luck!
Now, dating site Match.com posted a controversial advert on the social media site TikTok called Things That Make Him Realise I'm a Keeper. This ad has now been banned by the Advertising Standards Authority for promoting negative gender stereotypes. It starts with a woman saying that she will always make sure she makes her man a protein shake after the gym, and then she goes on to say...
I always make sure he has a fresh towel and socks for after his shower. I put the football on for him every evening.
Oh, well, you can tell what the audience think of that.
I'm with
you. Well, do you think it was the right decision to ban it? Really interesting to get that reaction
No,
there.
actually, I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't, because it's so obviously tongue-in-cheek. It's obviously
I don't think it's
a
obvious
joke.
enough.
It is. Well, you can tell that the voice isn't even real. It's like a robotic voice. It's almost like, let's remove anything with a sense of humour or a joke in it from anywhere, because
I think
one
that's a standard
single
TikTok
person
voice, by the way.
might be offended, and that person is obviously Nadia.
The audience weren't loving it, were you?
Well, no, because instantly, if you look at it, it's a dating site, and it's done as a joke. It's done as...
Well,
it is. It's not going to lead anybody into something they don't want to get into,
the thing
is it?
I didn't find it funny. And the thing is, it's open. At the moment, we have to be so careful. There's so much going on online around coercive control. Sometimes I have to have loads of conversations with my kids about, oh, no, that's not OK. And that kind of message, I believe there was going to be a second part to the ad. But if that's just going out on its own, I didn't think it was particularly funny. It wasn't done as enough of a parody.
But just to tell you why it was banned, you know, just the reasons that they gave, the ASA said it created an impression of an unequal relationship between the couple, and that connecting the woman doing domestic chores with becoming a keeper reinforced the idea that women should be subservient to men in order to maintain a successful relationship.
So you at your age, you're going to laugh about it.
But Match.com said it wasn't one-sided, but they did acknowledge it'd be more appropriate to include gestures by both characters in the same video.
So what they're saying is that women, even if they choose to, it's not good for them to be able to do something that they want to do to please their husband, right? Is that what you're saying? That you can't do that?
It's not saying that you can't do that.
I'm not
but
saying
if
you
see...
have to do it all the time, but... you know, if you want to, it's a joke. The advert is a joke. It's a tiny
It reinforces,
joke.
I think the argument would be that it reinforces a negative stereotype that we have all become very familiar with over generations, which has led a lot of women to become subservient to men and to be less independent than men. And that's something that historically we can record.
I think it's more... it's more younger people that might look at that. An older person is going to go, oh, please, or find it funny.
Not necessarily. Brenda, what do you think?
I kind of agree with Carol, because there are two sides to it, and it would be good if they portrayed it from the woman's angle and the man's angle so that you can get an objective
well, that's what they didn't do.
reaction to it. I don't
They didn't
take
get the chance.
I don't necessarily take offence to it because, as Carol said, there are some people who want to do that, and that's down to them. It's your own personal choice. I think people are sometimes a little bit touchy. I don't want to go as far as coercive control side of things. Obviously, I've got a domestic abuse history myself, so it's a fine. That's a that could be a bit of a trigger for some
somebody
people,
that was under very controlling behaviour.
Yeah, but as Carol said, it's an automated voice. It's not somebody, I'm thinking, if she wants to do that to please her husband, let her please her husband. What does my man want to do to please me? I want to know that too. Let him please me. Let's please each other.
That might have been part two of the advert, but they can't use the advert anymore,
because
so
part
we'll
one's
never
been
see
scrapped.
Do you know what? My sister, tell you a funny story. My sister came in yesterday, Dina, raging from the supermarket. She goes, why do some women take their husbands to the supermarket? She says, I've just spent half an hour longer than I needed to in the supermarket because I had to follow this man. I wanted to do either a proper arrest, if I'd been a WPC, I would have arrested him, or I was thinking about doing a citizen's arrest. I was like, what's happened? And she said, well, there was this woman with her husband, horrible he was, and she'd said to him, oh, should we get some peas? And he said, we've got peas. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. And he said, how did you not know we've got peas? And my sister said it was so horrible the way that he spoke to me that she followed them all the way round. And that's what you do. She's a real South London bird. She said, everywhere he stopped, I stopped and just went...
But everyone bickers in the supermarket. You want to criminalise people for bickering in the supermarket.
No, she said she was like shaky. The woman was a bit shaky and like nervous.
To me, all that does is illustrate how difficult and how fine a line it is between, a couple who are bickering and they've got a cob on and somebody's in a bad mood, and an ongoing situation where one of them, and it's not always, male on female, not always.
No, exactly.
But where one is over-dominating the other. Well, there's a whole different story,
But there would be a
isn't it?
smile and a laugh. She said this woman was shaky and looked really nervous.
Yeah,
Horrible.
it's difficult. I mean, personally, I don't see any point in reinforcing it because, as Nadia said, I don't think it was that funny. If it's meant to be funny, it wasn't
Weak,
funny.
very weak.
Anyway,
Tongue in cheek, not funny.
yeah, still to come. Elizabeth. Elizabeth Hurley will be sharing her story about how a simple Instagram post about breast cancer saved a friend's life. Plus, Brenda and Carol, who have both had successful treatment for breast cancer, tell us how they stay positive. And we've got that all-important live breast cancer check too, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Thursday's Newswomen, live with you until 1:30. It's Nadia Sawala, our friend Carol McKibben.
Oh, yeah, our very loose friend.
Oh, don't.
Brenda Edwards and me, Kay Adams. And we are dedicating the next half an hour to an issue that affects 1 in 8 women in their lifetime, breast cancer. We're going to be getting to know our breasts a little bit better when we show you just how quick, easy and important it is to know how to check your own boobs. So that's in around 15 minutes. And later, Brenda and Carol will be sharing their own stories of survival. But before that, it is a startling statistic, actually. Every 19 seconds, somewhere in the world, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. But with modern treatment and early detection, far fewer women and men are dying from the disease. But we need to keep raising awareness, which is exactly what today's guest is here to do. Please welcome a woman on a mission. It's the fabulous Elizabeth Hurley.
Thank you.
Welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us. As I say, a woman on a mission, and you have been for 27 years. What first prompted you to get involved with raising awareness about breast cancer?
Well, Evelyn Lauder, who was Estee Lauder's daughter-in-law, when I first joined the company, came to me and said, would I help her with a campaign? And I said, yes, of course, what is it? And she said, well, women all over the world are dying of breast cancer and no one is talking about it. And I want to change that. And it's really true that back then, for me, it was 27 years ago, I just recently lost my grandmother to breast cancer. And at that time, nobody talked about it. There was no pink ribbon. There was no Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And when my grandmother was diagnosed, well, first of all, she didn't go to the doctor because she was scared and embarrassed. And when she finally went, of course, it was quite progressed. And even then, she didn't want to talk about it. We weren't involved in talking to doctors or friends. There was no support groups. We didn't really know what was going on. And she didn't make it. And that's what Evelyn Lauder wanted to change when she started the breast cancer campaign and co-invented the pink ribbon. And it's just different. It's very different today. You know, it's still a life-threatening disease, obviously, for many women. But times have changed. We talk about it now.
They have changed so much, haven't they? It makes me think back. My own grandmother had cancer. It wasn't breast cancer that happened. She wouldn't even say the word.
No, they whispered it. It was a dirty word to be, she's got cancer.
Well, you'd always say the
they
big
call it the
C.
C
word. The big C,
Yeah,
like
when I was
Granny.
growing up, that's
Yeah.
all I ever heard.
Yeah.
And I don't, for years, I didn't know what it meant as a child.
No,
You can't believe that now, can you? Like you say, so many conversations, so many groups, so much going on social media. But I mean, there's always need for more.
Well, yeah, and more than that, and that, of course, has been vital. And, you know, from our research, we know that it really helps when people feel solidarity with other people, can hear their experiences. But also, there's been a vast amount of improvements in both diagnosis and treatment in the 30 years that we've been around. You know, 30 years ago, people talked about breast cancer. Now everyone knows there's so many different types of breast cancer and treatments are targeted to that particular cancer instead of everyone being blasted with the same treatment, which probably would have been what happened to my grandmother.
Yeah.
So the huge advances are happening, but still, as we've just heard, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer, and people do still die, even though mortality rates have decreased by 41% since the late 80s, which is a huge thing
The
to have
survival
happened.
rates are higher, much higher now.
Because it's detected earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the important thing. And that's what you're here to talk about, really, aren't you? The checking yourself. We have to check ourselves.
Yeah, and
Did you get a mammogram for your 40th birthday?
I did.
present?
Evelyn Lauder gave me one for my 40th and made me promise to regularly have screenings.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is so important. I mean, that messaging hasn't changed in 30 years, that early detection saves lives. In fact, some of the doctors, the breast cancer doctors I've spoken to, said that 30 years ago, when a woman came to them, their cancer was normally pretty progressed, like my grandmother's. Whereas now, because people know so much more about being screened and self-checking, they're much more likely to have a much earlier stage cancer, which is 90% curable if found early.
Which is important to remember when
So
you're
important.
scared.
Of
to get-
course.
because I think a lot of women don't actually self-check or even go and get a mammogram because they're scared of getting that news.
Of course they are.
Aren't they?
We all
Fear
are.
is still, I think,
Yeah.
the most...
And I guess that's why
stops
the
people from
talking
getting
about
checked,
it is
yeah.
so important, isn't it? You know, and you know, on social media, of course, which we're always quick to criticise, but actually in this instance can be incredibly powerful.
It can be a force for good, for sure. And I think just for people knowing they're not alone
Yeah.
and knowing there's people to talk to, you know, in the same way that, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous helped so many people to know they weren't alone. There was solidarity. I'm pretty sure that's...
Did a friend of
Elizabeth-
yours,
oh,
sorry,
sorry.
react to an Instagram post?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they did. During the pandemic, when I couldn't be sitting here with you, everything was done remotely. We did, through our breast cancer campaign, I did an Instagram post telling people the importance of self-checking and advising people to go to a website where a lovely doctor called Dr. Zoe was demonstrating a self-check. And 2 friends of mine had seen my post, both in their 40s, so younger than me, and they both checked themselves for the first time and both found lumps. And both went to the doctor. They were both diagnosed with cancer, but they found it really early. But they would never have checked had they not seen that post. So in fact, you know, the value of social media can be really put to good.
And there's a bit of a common belief as well, I think, that young women, say under 40, think that it's only women over 50 who get breast cancer. I mean, the prevalence, I think, is higher in women over 50, but young women do actually get it as well. So it's really important that they check because they can't get mammograms until they're 50 either.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And the breast tissue also pre-40 is too dense for a mammogram.
Yeah.
So all you can rely on is self-checking. And in fact, I mean, I've met thousands of women probably who've had breast cancer, and out of my friend group, the majority of them found them themselves. And not always by checking, actually. Sometimes in the shower, soaping.
Yeah.
They said something feels weird. But also, some of the doctors have said that one of the most important things you can also do is actually look at your breasts in the mirror.
Yeah.
And sometimes, apparently, you can see a difference.
Another thing that was mentioned to me, and I don't know, some people, I guess, use a sponge or a scrunchie or some kind of thing in the shower, that actually you're probably better to use your hand to soak
Probably,
yourself.
I would
because
imagine, yeah.
then you've got, obviously, a direct touch. And what about lifestyle? We know it does make a difference. It's not the complete story by a long chalk, but you clearly, you know, are very sort of vigilant about your own lifestyle.
Well, you know, I think I've been lucky enough to be able to talk to the research guys quite a lot. And they do say that lifestyle can possibly make a difference. I mean, obviously, eating healthily, we know helps. Keeping active, we know helps. And there have been studies that suggest that when there's a lot of cortisol in the body, the stress hormone that's released when you're very tense and stressed, there have been studies to show that, for example, during chemotherapy, if there's a lot of cortisol presence, perhaps the treatment is less effective. Which is, you know, a very grown-up medical way of saying what everybody's always said, de-stress.
Yeah.
So, in fact, having a long bath with a scented candle, taking some time out, actually perhaps could be life-saving, not only making us feel better in the short
I
term.
see you as a long bath-scented candle woman.
I love long baths.
I knew it. I just felt it.
Yeah, no, I do like it. But you know what's also quite interesting? I did a cortisol test with this research scientist who was doing this particular bit of research. And I'd imagined my stress levels were at the lowest when I was lying on the sofa watching TV or having a chat. We did a cortisol test. Then I went for a walk. We did a cortisol test. Stress levels much lower after the walk. Because apparently when you're lying down, sometimes your mind gets very active.
Absolutely.
And you start
I'm a
worrying
great believer in
about whatever you're worrying about.
Yeah.
So exercise
Get out
being
and get
active.
a walk. It's
Yeah.
the best. And so you will be continuing your work as an ambassador for Estee Lauder breast cancer campaign. It's not something you're going to give up after 27 years, that's for sure.
Not until we're out of business.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
means women aren't dying.
Yeah. Elizabeth, thank you. The conversation doesn't stop there. After the break, we are getting to know our boobs a little better. We'll be checking ourselves for the signs and symptoms of breast cancer. So if you've been thinking about doing the same, please don't put it off any longer. Join us next. Hello again, still to come. We are continuing our conversation on breast cancer with some inspiring words from all of our panel. A third of women never check themselves for signs of breast cancer, but 2/3 of breast cancers are found by women noticing new or unusual breast changes. So it's really important that we do it, which is why that we're joined by Addie Mitchell, a clinical nurse from the charity Breast Cancer Now, who specialises in breast awareness and breast screening. Welcome, Addie. Thank you very much for joining us. You know, things are getting better, certainly in terms of awareness, but still not good enough. Why do you think we still have this gap?
I think people are sometimes scared about approaching their GPs, particularly post-pandemic. I think, you know, there's a lot of fear as well about what they might find. A lot of women, we know that from research done that 30% of women do forget to check themselves, so therefore they wouldn't necessarily find anything. So, and we know there are cultural barriers as well to people attending GPs with any changes. We know we acknowledge that is a really big problem, and that's also getting easier. But you know, it's something that it needs addressing as well.
Is that through a sense of stigma, or perhaps just uncomfortable? You know, going to the doctors, and it's a very intimate area of the body.
I think for certain cultures, of course, it's a taboo, isn't it? You know, to go to the GP, to go to a healthcare professional, particularly a male healthcare professional.
Well, we want to do as much as we can to help people show how they can self-check. So, Addie, would you mind coming up? Nadia here is going to be your guinea pig.
Going to learn perfectly how to do it now, right?
Oh, no, I don't know about perfectly, but anyway. I think it's probably easier if I show...
Yeah.
I mean, everybody will have their own technique and their way of checking themselves, but there's certain areas you have to cover. So, to begin with, deep into the armpit with the points of your fingers, so behind that pectoralis muscle here.
Yeah.
And then if you come down to the breast, with the flats of your fingers is probably easier because you feel everything if you don't. Round the nipple in like a star shape.
Oh, a star shape, didn't know that.
Some people do it that way.
Oh, okay.
But and up to the collarbone. So a lot of people don't realise that the breast tissue is actually a really large area.
Yeah.
Like a pear drop shape in a way that goes right up to the collarbone. So you need to
And again,
all the way
so you're
across
rubbing
the
it,
collarbone.
not pressing it. Rubbing it.
Not pressing, because you
I've
feel
never
every
done
lump
that.
and bump.
Have you done that ever on a test?
The collarbone,
No.
I mean, I would never have gone as far as that.
And obviously repeat on the other side. But it's about getting to know what's normal for you. So regularly checking. We don't sort of give a prescriptive once a month, check because some women don't have menstrual cycles, of course. A lot of women are older and they don't have a cycle. So it's about doing it regularly.
So you know the
Building it into your
changes.
routine.
Because our postmenopausal boobs, we're always saying, Kay, aren't we? It's like, they just check, they go, sometimes mine feel like a bag of rice.
Yeah.
And then I imagine every single thing is it. And then a few months ago, I got a really big lump came up on my breast, and it was obviously terrifying. Went to the doctor, and she felt it straight away. She said, "Well, we'll get it checked." She said, "But I'm not worried about it." And you think, why aren't you worried about it? How would you know what to worry about and what not?
So there are certain signs
hormonal,
that,
I suppose.
I mean, that's why it's really good to check all the time because your breasts change over time anyway.
Yeah.
You know, every decade your breasts will change, and obviously with pregnancies or
And also, it's not just lumps.
No, it's not
Itchy,
just lumps.
itchiness can be a sign, can't it?
Changes, creases,
Yeah, nipple changes.
yeah.
If a sudden, but again, that might be normal for some people. So nipples being inverted, pulling in, might be normal for some women. But if it just suddenly happens, if there is suddenly a new lump, and going back to what you were saying about your GP, if there are certain signs. If it's quite a hard, irregular, sort of craggy lump that is fixed. That might be a bit of a worry, whereas a lot of benign areas tend to be sort of mobile.
Okay, but you should still get that checked out.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Any
Whatever
changes, because it could be,
Yeah.
And most changes are benign as well. They're not cancer.
Two key things I'm thinking of what you say is that get used to what your breast is normal, so be familiar with your own body and go to the doctor if there is anything that you feel is untoward. Adi, thank you very much indeed.
It's okay.
It is time for the competition. Josie has all the details.
It is National Space Week, so we've come down to iFly in Basingstoke to experience their zero-gravity flight. I'm going to be launched in the air with my instructor, Harry, and talking of launch, we have launched an incredible competition which could see you £75,000 richer. Just imagine all the experiences that you could have £75,000 richer. If you broke that down, it's like having £6,000 injected into your bank account every month for one whole year. It is totally tax-free, and somebody out there has got to win the lot, and that somebody really could be you. Here's all the details. Are you ready for me, Har? For a chance to win, text cash to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY40 PO Box 7558 Derby DE10NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over, and lines close on Friday the 28th of October at 3 p.m. £75,000 is a rocket of a prize. Get entering now.
Well, we're talking about breast cancer. I mean, Brenda and Carol, obviously, you both had personal experience. Brenda, how did you discover that there was something untoward?
Well, I discovered it in exactly the opposite way. I was having a conversation. I was checking myself as I thought I was, couldn't feel anything, and I was having a conversation because I was doing a musical at the time with my dresser, and she told me about her friend who was only 24 that had discovered that she'd had stage 3 breast cancer. So I just went to check, and I didn't even get as far. I went there and felt a very hard lump that wasn't moving, and that was, and then 3 weeks later, when I got back to home, that was when I went to check. I didn't go and do anything immediately, and that was when I was told that I had stage 3 breast cancer. Yeah.
How was it to hear those words?
It was very hard for me because I am a positive person. I immediately thought I'm going to die. I think that's the first thing that came. I'm not going to be here for my kids and this, that, and the other. But then after that, I was like, right, I've got to deal with this. I kicked into my survival mode that's just my natural go-to, and I turned the negative into. I tried to turn the negative into a positivity because I was told. I started doing my own research and stress levels and things like that. So I put music on and just dance and try and release happy endorphins all the time through my whole treatment and everything. And that's how I personally dealt with it. It's not for everybody, but yeah.
No,
and that was
couldn't have
6
been more
years
different,
ago.
Actually.
Yeah, well, I'm 6 years free after having a mastectomy and a 13-hour operation of deconstruction, taking it out, and then reconstruction at the same time, which was really, really hard. And then the chemotherapy was before that.
Yeah. It's more than 8 years for you, Carol?
8.5 years, yeah. So
years.
coming up for 9 years in April from diagnosis.
Right.
But the diagnosis is always, it isn't easy. But the thing is with me, I wasn't surprised, you know what I mean? I just knew that's what it was.
I remember you ages ago saying to me, I just thought, oh, it's my turn. It's
I
always stuck in my head
thought,
that you said that.
Well, because the lump came from absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I do check myself, and I've always checked myself quite a lot. And we were on holiday, and I think it was January at the time, not long since had a mammogram, and I just felt this lump, and it was huge. And I didn't say anything to Mark because he would probably worry about it more than I was, because I thought, right, okay, this is breast cancer.
Did you instantly?
Yeah, I knew it was. I just knew. I thought, well, you know, millions of women get it, they get treated, and I never once thought I was going to die, unlike you. I just didn't.
Interesting.
And it was because the nurse said to me, you know, you've got so many options, you can have treatment, this, and you might as well just have it all because you're young. I wasn't young, I was 50, whatever, what was I, 53 or something? And so I just sort of got on with it. What worries me now, though, is because I'm 8.5, nearly 9 years survived, as they say, I worry about secondary breast cancer. I really worry about that. And it keeps me awake at night, actually, because it is... My breast cancer wasn't treated with hormones because it didn't have any hormone receptors in it. So it was called triple negative, so it was very aggressive. So it was grade 3, which is different to the staging. The staging was 2, but it was grade 3. So it was aggressive. It was already spreading. It was in my blood. And it wasn't in my lymph nodes, actually, but they still took them out just in case. And I think that there is a chance, there's a massive chance that it could come back. And if it comes back, and I didn't know this until last year when I was working with a charity, when I was doing that tour, that secondary breast cancer, if it comes back in another part, if breast cancer comes back in another part of the body, then it can't actually be cured. It's always... It's not terminal, but yeah, you can treat it for many, many years, and women do live with it. But that's what worries me the most. And you know, it's not really breast cancer coming back that scares me. It's secondary, which doesn't really get talked about very much.
It doesn't, and so it's so important we do shows like this to keep the conversation going. And I'd like to give a shout out to some special friends in the audience, and also to Hannah, who is at the moment dealing with secondary breast cancer and was supposed to be here today and couldn't. Hannah, we love you. All my friends here have had breast cancer. And Lizzie, my friend there with purple hair, she's got secondary breast cancer. And lovely Helen, who's the driving force behind Lorraine's Change and Check. Amazing women. You've saved so many lives already. And, of course, my mad, crazy, insane friend, Kaz, who's 5 years... Well, not 5 years sober, 5 years clear of cancer. She's definitely not sober.
There was a slip of the tongue, wasn't there? Yeah. We've also got a couple of influencers, Karina and Leanne, who use their platforms to raise awareness about cancer, in particular as women of colour. So thank you to all of you. Thanks so much for joining us today. And if you need any further advice about what we have been talking about today, there is helpful information on our website. And as we said earlier, if you think you have found anything at all that is untoward, not normal for you, perhaps you just need further information on anything that we've discussed, then please make an appointment with your GP to get it checked. Right, well, that is it for today. We are back as usual tomorrow. We are joined by Spandau Ballet star Tony Hadley. Brenda's very excited. Thank you for joining us for this special show. Please don't forget to check your breast. It might just save your life. Goodbye.